Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And hello, everybody. So it's a privilege to be here. Over the next couple of days, I hope to be able to share my passion for hackathons and my experience in leading hackathons to enable this to be an incredibly unqualified success. And I expect I'll be spending a lot of time with many of you in whatever capacity you are in, whether you are team participants, whether you are mentors, or whether you are judges. Just a minute on my background. I've spent a good chunk of my career helping to start 8 venture capital-backed enterprise software companies. I've been a professor at MIT, at the Hult International Business School, and at Rutgers. And I spend an awful lot of time doing what I'll call outside in and inside out innovation consulting. So we're going to talk about hackathon. So we sit here today in Boston. And the word disruption may be overused. It may have even become cliche. But I'm going to promise you, for many companies, for many industries, it's not. So just down the road from here at Northeastern University, about 20 years ago, a sophomore by the name of Sean Fanning came up with a small invention in his dorm room. It was called Napster. And to this day, record industry executives have voodoo dolls of Sean Fanning in their homes. And they poke pins in it every chance they get. Why? Because in the course of a few years, the gross revenue of the recorded music industry fell by half. 1 year before Napster, it was $30 billion a year. And a few years later, it was $15 billion. Imagine you are running a business, a public company, and half of the revenue of your industry just collapses. Imagine you're Blockbuster, and you are sitting on top of 10,000 brick and mortar retail stores. You have 95% share of your marketplace. You have relationships with every major Hollywood studio. And you don't take the threat of this little company called Netflix seriously, and within years you are gone. So let me say this. Disruption is not something that we can avoid. Heavily regulated industries like healthcare and financial services have been somewhat protected from these forces, but I'm going to tell you right now that that is no longer the case. And that's why we're here today. So there is no doubt that there is massive innovation, massive venture capital and private equity flows coming into the healthcare industry today. And when we have a chance to get together at the end of the hackathon on Wednesday, I will share with you the overwhelming amount of creative destruction and innovation that is happening in this industry. And I will tell you that artificial intelligence will become a massive, it's already becoming a powerful force within your industry, okay? So, like most regulated industries, whether it be cable TV, not a lot of people that have ever really enjoyed their relationship with their cable TV vendor. But if we look at this wonderful cartoon from the New Yorker, I just love this caption. Has your address, your insurance, or your family relationship changed since you started filling out these forms? Boy, does that ring true. Okay? As recently as a month ago, I was over at getting my annual physical, and I got out the old clipboard, and I was using an ink pen to fill out forms. Okay? And for a guy that grew up in Silicon Valley, that's mind-bending to me. And then right down the road, right, the hospital where I get a lot of my work done, Newton Wellesley Hospital, dear healthcare, I'm done being treated like patient 11567. Straight out of the great Bob Seger song, I feel like a number, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of patients and participants in the system have. And if you remember the movie Network, where the broadcaster got on the television and said, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, okay? And people started shouting it out the window simultaneously. Patients have begun to take matters into their own hands. We're seeing a tremendous amount of patient-centric innovation. We're seeing a lot of young venture capitalists that are targeting millennials, and they're targeting them with very, very easy to use, very sophisticated applications that are allowing them to hack the healthcare system. And so what is, at the end of the day, a hackathon? A hackathon is part of an overarching concept called open innovation. Open innovation is when we recognize that we don't just invent within the four walls of our company, that there are brilliant, creative, energetic people all around the world. And the more opportunity we have to bring them into our innovation cycle, we create a force multiplier. And there's a wide range of tactics and techniques that large organizations use around open innovation, okay? And just as another example from another industry, because insurance, believe it or not, like healthcare, is going through massive disruption right now. What are some of the benefits of insurance companies, large collaborative insurance companies, working with startups and in the ecosystem? Improved ability to enhance the customer experience, faster time to market, new digital capabilities, competitive advantage over our peers, better operational cost and efficiencies, and ability to explore new revenue streams. Does that sound any different than why we're here? It's exactly the same, okay? So innovation tournaments have been around for quite some time. So let me ask you guys a question. I'm sure most of you Netflix and chill every once in a while. Do you know how the Netflix recommendation engine came into being? The Netflix recommendation engine came into being through what is called an X Prize. Reed Hastings set up a $1 million challenge, and he was way ahead of his time, as he continues to be. He's an extraordinary CEO and leader. He set up a global competition, and he asked the global community to create a recommendation engine that Netflix could then use to replicate the in-store experience of going to talk to the guy with the ponytail and the black turtleneck about what video you might like. Okay, and that was really the basis. We've seen the X Prize around space exploration, lots and lots of big global innovations with large prizes. Okay, then we get to the hackathon. And one of the unique things about a hackathon is, unlike an X Prize, which takes place over months or years, a hackathon takes place under a compressed time cycle, anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. Okay? And the purpose of that is to really get people to focus on what's truly important and to drive to something that is actionable. Okay? When Salesforce.com, a dominant company and a massively disruptive company, as disruptive in their space as Napster has been in the recorded music industry, when they wanted to demonstrate the capabilities of their platform to the world, they invited the global community to come in and learn how to build extended apps on the Salesforce platform. And over the course of a weekend, they offered a $1 million prize to the team that actually delivered the most innovative, impactful app. So this is something that has been happening for a long time, right? That is now, obviously, again, external hackathon, people coming in to help you innovate, okay? Johnson & Johnson, despite the fact that it's a 100-plus-year-old company, unbelievably disciplined and sophisticated when it comes to open innovation. They've sponsored over 75 global, what they call quick-fire hackathons, and have seen a tremendous amount of innovation around their platform, okay? One of them, the Metabolic Disease Innovation Challenge, and out of that was born a very interesting company that helps patients monitor and manage their own chronic illnesses, okay? So, another type of hackathon, which is the one that we are engaged in over the next couple days, is when we're developing innovation through our own employee base. One of the companies best known for this is Atlassian, and I suspect many of you have not heard of Atlassian. They're the first Australian tech company to go public on the NASDAQ, and their entire culture is based on hackathons. From the way they hire people, they don't hire someone until they've seen them perform in a hackathon. They onboard them through a hackathon, and almost all of their significant innovations have happened through hackathons. It's the very soul of the company. And so it turns out that, not surprisingly, the tech industry is by far the most significant host of hackathons. About a third of all hackathons are held by tech companies. But what you may not be aware of, and this is very recent, is that both the financial services and the healthcare industries have become very significant hosts of hackathons for very much the reasons I started off with, okay? How many of you know Hacking Health? Hacking Health was born in Montreal, Canada. I happen to be good friends with the founder. We've done a number of events together in Canada and the US. It is a global organization whose mission is to hack the global healthcare system. They have hosted over 100 hackathons around the world, and what they essentially do is they connect with communities around the world that want to improve the quality of care, that want to improve the delivery of healthcare, okay? And they've been very effective. And then how many of you have ever been to the MIT Hacking Medicine Hackathon? Okay, this is the mother of all healthcare hackathons. They've run about 100 of these at MIT, just down the road in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I can go on and tell you about all of the great companies that were born in this hackathon, but we don't have time for that. I will just share one with you, one that perhaps you have heard of. It's called PillPack. And PillPack was born at the MIT Grand Medical Hack. You may or may not be aware that Amazon bought them for over $1 billion. The mission of PillPack is to help those 30 million Americans who take more than 5 medications a day. So these hackathons are driving real innovation. So as you sit here today, an important design of a hackathon is the diversity of the teams, right? We don't want groupthink. We don't want 5 or 6 people that have one background or work in one business or see things the same way. It's about seeing the world through different lenses. That creative tension that comes from different perspectives allows innovation to flourish. So when one of your teammates, if you're a participant, is talking and they're sharing an idea, it's never yes, but. Yes, but is an incredibly limiting way of facilitating collaboration. It's always yes and, building on top of their creativity, their thinking, their ideas, and extending it, and expanding it, and multiplying its power. So some of you may have seen this, it's becoming quite well known. So the Flatiron District in New York, which is right where the Flatiron, the iconic architectural landmark, the Flatiron building sits, is becoming a wellness epicenter, okay? It's a living lab around wellness. And to me, this is just indicative of where healthcare is going. We're seeing an incredible amount of bottoms-up innovation. Patients and communities are taking this issue into their own hands while they wait for the industry to drive innovation through these large, heavily regulated organizations. Okay? So Dr. Lori Glimcher, many of you probably have heard of her. She's had an extraordinary career. She's now the president and CEO of Dana-Farber. She was a very successful research scientist and clinician. And the guidance that she gives to her own team is very appropriate for you in the room. Let's take a patient-centric mindset, and this is very important. Let's strive for big breakthroughs. If you think you're thinking big, think bigger. You can always think bigger. That's why we're here. From bed to bench, and from bench back to bed. Cross-functional teams, as I've mentioned, and share knowledge for the greater good. So there's a lot of expertise in this room, and it's really critical that we create a knowledge-sharing community today. Okay? And then finally, from your CEO, from an article that was written not that long ago that I read about the future of healthcare. At naviHealth, it's all about how to take all of the data suggested in healthcare and leverage it to create a patient-facing, patient-forward experience around clinical decision-making. Okay? And so with that, it's time to start the revolution. Okay? Thank you.